Welcome to the Meetings Podcast, the meeting organizer's podcast source for what's new in the meetings and events industry. Meetings Podcast is a conversation with a variety of voices that looks at events, meetings, and media. Meetings Podcast is sponsored by IMEX America, America's worldwide exhibition for incentive travel, meetings, and events.
Hey, podcast listeners. Today's show is brought to you, of course, by IMEX America, but we also have a new technology sponsor. Well, it's not that new, but full disclosure, I'm an investor and founder in AV for Planners, and AV for Planners is designed to help meeting organizers vet and negotiate AV. We did a slight pivot this year. Our clients, who we have now, really love our service, but they're having a hard time finding out how to pay for it. So we did a slight pivot, and now we are shifting gears, which we have shifted gears, and we are going with third-party planning companies who now provide this service to ensure their clients are getting the correct AV and labor. It's really been a great shift for the business. We're working with some really big companies, which is really fun. So how it works is the third-party planners now get a commission from the AV companies for bringing in the business. So if it sounds familiar, it's just like what they do for room blocks with hotels. So here's how it works. On behalf of a client, AV Planners gets the in-house AV and 2 outside AV bids. They can get 3 outside AV bids if you want, but usually they want to get the in-house AV. But we put all 3 of them side by side and give the client a 1-page summary with a rating of all the equipment and labor for the proposal. Behind that 1-pager is all the reasons why we made these decisions for all the different areas of the lighting, for the sound, everything that you could think of, the labor, and they can use that to make better decisions. So third-party planning companies are using it. Also, some independent planners are doing the same thing so they can make a little more revenue off the event while getting the best equipment and labor for their clients. So if you're interested in learning more, head over to avforplanners.com /AV Power Pack just to sign up for a consultation if you want, or just get some information. Plus, get tips and tricks for site surveys and what to look out for, which is just an added bonus that's on there. Also, we have a nice clause to add to your hotel contract if you want more control over what you're being charged for audiovisual from the venues and hotels. So let's get into the show, and thank you so much for listening. Welcome back to the Meetings Podcast. This is Mike McAllen from, where am I from? Grass Shack Events and Media. And today we have Jordan Schwartz. Hi, Jordan.
Mike, good to talk to you.
Nice to talk to you. You are the president of Pathable. You build event apps and conference community platforms for over 8 years.
That's true.
Prior to that, you served Microsoft for a decade, building consumer-focused products, including several versions of Windows and MSN. You also lead a team of 60,000 bees in the manufacture and production of delicious organic honey.
As do you, Mike.
I do.
How are the bees doing? Doing well?
This year was probably our best year ever.
Wow, fantastic.
I think we got about 15 gallons of honey.
Wow, that's great.
It was
I did not do as well, but that's because we were gone for we were overseas for the spring, so I didn't get to get things set up. The girls were on their own, and
you weren't there to give them their massages and things, making sure they're
right. Their pep talk.
Producing. I don't really do anything to my bees. They're very organic. Also, I don't medicate them or anything. I just let them do their thing.
Same.
And do you still have the chickens?
No, the chickens. When we spent 3 months in Europe this spring, and I gave away the chickens before we left, and my wife requested that we not get them back because I kept letting them free in the yard, and then it made it hard to walk.
Oh, yeah. Our next door neighbors have them, and the eggs are great, but they bring in a lot of rats, and they also poop everywhere.
That's the thing. That is the thing.
All right. Well, let's get to this, Jordan. I appreciate you talking to me today. Do you have a favorite quote?
The one that I'm going with today is "fail fast."
I think that's been said before on the podcast.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
It's a good one. It's kind of top of mind. We just had a big experiment here at Pathable, and And it didn't work, but it didn't work quickly. And I'm just, that's how I sleep at night is patting myself on the back for recognizing that and for making decisions.
And I think that's it's really something to learn. And I have had that recently with our AV for Planners thing. We've been working on that for a couple of years now and failing pretty good at a lot of it, but actually pivoting now, and it's actually working. And it's just like, I wish we had really discussed it with, the users first, like really done a good. We just thought, they'll love this, which is not the way you can do it. If you build it, they don't come.
Right. No, you got to spend a lot of time. And when I got started at Microsoft, I spent my first 2 years there sitting behind a one-way mirror, watching people use software and studying it and making a science of it. And so that's very much user research and usability research, very much in my blood. And yeah, there's just no substitute. I mean, you stare at the wall, you stare at the ceiling. You got dreams, and they get blown away by 10 minutes of an actual person who doesn't have your same vision, just trying to get their work done. Right.
But good quote. Thank you for being prepared. I appreciate that. So how'd you get into this industry? How'd you pick the events industry? How did this you said you started at Microsoft, or I read that before.
Yeah. It's funny. I was in psychology, originally, when I was in grad school, and I started doing some moonlighting for Microsoft as a graduate student, doing this usability research that I was just talking about. And then somewhere along the way, realized that not only did I enjoy the process of creating software more, but it was such a greater opportunity for impact. When I was writing these academic papers, if I was really successful, 10, 15 people in my field might read it, and after a few years, maybe I'd get quoted in another journal article, and that was it. That was like, that's success. That's hitting it out of the park. Whereas when you create software, if I can make something 5% easier to do, or I can enable grandmothers to connect with grandchildren in a way that they weren't able to, I can impact millions of lives. And that opportunity to have a more meaningful impact on the world, I think is what attracted me to software. And then once I had been at Microsoft for 10 years, I decided that was long enough to spend at one place. And as I was casting around for the next thing to do, a couple friends of mine had prototyped a early version of Pathable with this idea that we've all been to conferences, and especially coming from Microsoft, I was so excited about going and meeting the other people that were creating the future, and I was going to form these alliances and share information, and we were going to have all-night bull sessions, dragging ourselves in for the keynotes. And it was kind of a disappointment, because I would go to the conferences and I would get a name badge and, a drink ticket. And then I would just be afloat in this sea of faces. And I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't know and I knew that there were these opportunities of great connections to make, and I just didn't know who they were. And so the early versions of Pathable were really focused on solving that problem, helping attendees at conferences find the right people to meet and connect with them before, during, and then stay connected after the event was over. And that just seemed like such a worthy problem to solve.
Yeah, it's the community aspect of it is so huge, and so many times they don't do anything. I mean, I've been in the same spot, really excited about going to a conference, and then it's just, I end up talking to the same guy the whole time.
Yeah, I think that was me at the last one.
I think it was, yeah. And I was on a bus with you somewhere. It was strange. Anyway, so what's been the biggest challenge? So you left a good job to start out on your own, right? What was the biggest challenge through all of that leap? For maybe someone else is listening right now and they've been working at Microsoft for 10 years and they want to start. I mean, what was the biggest challenge you encountered?
Well, there are so many to choose from. I would say that the biggest thing was coming from a company like Microsoft, where I was able to focus on one job and just, I can nail that job. And there were people who took care of everything else. There was a test team, there was a development team, engineering team, there was the marketing team, there was the HR team, and everything is kind of everything would magically happen around me. And I just nailed my one thing, that was it. And if the product, if something went wrong with the product because of somebody else, I still got paid, and I'll tell you, at Microsoft, there a couple times there were problems with software products. I don't know if any of that made it into the press, public consciousness, but we had a few problems. But it didn't impact me personally. And so going and running my own business, where not only is it the case that if I didn't make something happen, it wouldn't happen until I had started to build a team. But also, it didn't matter whose fault it was when something failed. If it failed, it was going to hurt me badly. And so it was important that it meant I had to pay a lot more attention to all of the different pieces.
Yeah, I run into that with my business, is getting paid and things. Like, you have to be the friend of your client, but then you also got to can you please pay me? So there's this, recently I have a bookkeeper who can make that call and then I'll say, oh, I'll talk to that bookkeeper. I don't know why she keeps bothering you, but
really, it's out of my hands. I'd love to give you a break, but it's out of my hands.
But I hear what you're saying, because it is all those little things. That's a huge challenge. So tell me the moment you knew that you had made the right decision in doing this. Is there an aha moment where you were sitting with your bees and you thought, Yeah,
I would say it was, I don't know if I can point to any single one experience, but yeah, I'll run into people who have been at an event that have used Pathable, and they'll say to me, oh, that's yours? And they'll start telling me about how they were able to use it in exactly the ways that I wanted them to use it. They say, I connected with people, I used it for these conversations beforehand, I booked these meetings, and it was, God, why doesn't everyone use that? And then it just gets this little glow. It lasts about 10 minutes, and then...
Because I remember the first time that I did talk to you is because I had used Pathable. I don't know if it was I had you on the podcast years ago or where we met, but I remember that was why I wanted to meet you, because I loved I loved Pathable. I thought, this is cool, because exactly what you were saying, and I'm not blowing smoke up your ass.
I appreciate that, Mike. Thank you.
Okay, so now let's say someone's listening right now. Tell me what's going on with Pathable. Tell us, kind of take somebody through the beginning of wanting to use Pathable and what exactly it does, kind of in a layman's terms. So if someone's listening and goes, what the hell is Pathable?
Well, I'll tell you, I'll give you a little bit of a historical up through the future view. So when we started, this is before iPhones, okay? And we've been around for a while. So mobile wasn't a thing back then. And we were focused on building communities for events, trying to think about, Facebook for a conference. You want to know who else is going. You want to start conversations with them. You want to connect with them. You want to find the right people while you're there. And you want to keep the conversations going afterwards. And that's what we did. And then mobile happened and really started to dominate people's consciousness about when they think about event technology as mobile. So we expanded and became a community platform and mobile event app. But somewhere along the way, the event app piece and just putting the agenda online, putting the maps online, putting, on your phone, began to eclipse everything else in terms of importance. And also, other companies noticed the same thing. And really, honestly, the market has become saturated with event apps. There are literally hundreds of them. And there's a common core set of things that they all do, right? They'll all put the agenda online. They'll all let people choose their meetings. They'll all let people look at maps and exhibitors, things like that. So, we had to ask ourselves, why are we different? Why are we better? Because I'm not interested in just trying to be the cheapest solution and just crank out apps the way, which is it's a fine model for others, but that wasn't the business that I'm interested in solving. I'm really interested in creating something great. And so as we look forward, we're continuing to focus on networking, but we're looking away from the kind of Facebook gamification approach and thinking more about private meeting scheduling and structured meetings and taking advantage of some of the unique qualities of in-person conferences, trade shows, and meetings. So I'm going to be there. I got 3 days when we're going to be sharing a physical space. And during that time, I don't want to be looking at my phone. I don't want my attendees to be looking at their phones. I want them to be taking advantage of the fact that they're physically together, looking at each other's eyes, and we want to enhance and facilitate that. So we're expanding into that meeting facilitation, one-on-one, planned, structured meetings, that type of thing.
Very cool. And that's where you're headed? That's
where we're headed. So we already have a great base, and what we're finding is that that's what people are coming to us for. As they look around the market, there really aren't, there is not another strong solution for that problem of I'm going to a meeting, I got limited time, there's a bunch of people I want to meet with, how do I meet with the right people while I'm there? And, that extends to hosted buyer type scenarios and other kind of one-on-one structured meetings where the event organizer has an interest in facilitating those meetings and monetizing them as well.
Yeah. Very interesting. And I have to say, I went to one conference years ago, and it was like one of these podcast conferences, and it was like in Ontario, and they had just a community board where you could sign up for meetups with people. You put, I'm interested in this.
Yeah. Right.
It was fantastic. And from that meeting, I still have great friends from that, like just those, because we were all kind of nerdy dudes walking around,
right. Those the unconference approach. Is that right? And people would.
Yeah. I mean, there was the main conference, but they had a thing where you could just say, I'm interested in, podcasting or whatever. I guess it was more of a media conference. Anyway, it was really great. And I understand what you're getting at. I think it's fantastic. That's what meetings need more of. So take me through a typical day. Do you have like morning rituals or anything, something, exercise, web stuff? Do you go to the certain websites every morning and look at stuff? What makes Jordan? I ask this only because I'm trying to get like what are successful people doing in the day.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm doing. I can answer your question. So I spend about an hour every morning with my 7-year-old, just lying on the rug playing Legos or whatever it is he's doing. That's kind of an important beginning to my day. And then I think that the kind of most interesting thing for me is that I got a treadmill desk. So I spend the morning while I'm working, walking. And, I had found for a long time, I'd go on long bike rides and, get the creative juices flowing, and I'd think of things and I'd have these elaborate ideas, and, I'd kind of write things in my head and fine tune it. And I'd get back, and there was always this narrow, maybe 20 to 30 minute window where I would try and commit this genius to paper or to pixel.
Yeah.
And then it was lost. And I always felt like it was just such a shame that I couldn't be typing, that I couldn't be creating while I was exercising, because I think there's really that mind-body connection there. And so I started off by getting a treadmill off of Craigslist and built a desk around it, and recently upgraded to a off-the-shelf commercial treadmill desk. And it's great. Nice. I can just sit there and work. There's a set of tasks that it lends itself very well to, and a set, they're kind of more deep thinking, hard problems, I tend to have to stop at it. It jiggles my memory a little bit. But for creative, open-ended kinds of tasks, and certainly phone calls, things like that, it's fantastic. I mean, it gets my blood up and gets my juices flowing. It changes my day, sets me on the right course.
That's very cool. And I had one in here for a while too, but my wife took it to work, which is too bad. She stole it, and now all her people use it at work. It's kind of unfair. All right. So what did you want to be as a kid?
I think not when I say a politician, I don't want a politician, but something like a lawyer or a senator or something like that. I was always very logical, and I cared a lot about how the world worked, and I wanted to be involved in that. I think I was involved in computers for, my whole life. I learned to program in 5th grade, and we got our first Apple II in 1976. It was, right off the line. It was serial number 179, something like that. It was really, I was typing my homework as a 4th grade. I'd hand it in on these little dot matrix printer printouts. But it really never occurred to me until graduate school that I could make that would be a software and computers would be a career for me.
What do you know, huh?
You know?
Nowadays, everybody, that's what they do, right?
Oh, yeah.
What book do you gift other people?
Look, yeah, so I don't keep books in general. If I get a good book, I always give them away. I think that the one that I've given away the most, because I'll reacquire it, reread it, and give it away, the Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat. That one's brilliant. Oliver Sacks, and he's a neurologist who works in very unusual cases. Recently, just passed away a few months ago.
He's at Awakenings.
Exactly.
Movie.
Yeah, right. Robin Williams played him in Awakenings.
Mm-hmm.
And he helps us understand how the brain works by observing how it uniquely breaks. So, if you realize that someone can lose the ability to understand speech, but can still generate speech, or can lose the ability to recognize a face, but still see perfectly in all other ways, then you realize that understanding speech and generating speech are two separate parts of the brain, or that there is a specific part of the brain that is dedicated to recognizing faces because it can break. It's just super fascinating book. He's a wonderful writer.
Very cool. And that's interesting too, because you have the psychology major.
Right.
But then your graduate school, were you still psychology?
Yeah, all the way through.
All the way, but then you went into computers.
Computers, yeah. Which
But now you're in the kind of matching people.
Yeah, it's still social. Right?
It's the same.
Understanding how people work and trying to help them work better. Maybe. Is that? Give it to me.
No, it makes sense. What do you listen to any podcasts that you really like?
Yeah, I'm listening to one right now. A History of Rome. And I think that's what it's called. It's History of Rome. It's this 150 episode.
Really?
Yeah, it's
wow.
It's fantastic. What happened is when I was this past spring, we pulled our 7-year-old out of school, my wife and I, and rented out our house, and we went and lived in Europe, in Portugal and Spain, for about 3 months, and traveled around. And while we were traveling, there was a lot of time when my son wanted to be entertained. And so I would tell him stories and history about where we were, which mostly involved me digging my 11th, out of my brain, the results of my 11th grade Israel, Greece, and Rome history class, which was really, that teacher was fantastic. A lot of it stuck. but I ran out of things pretty quickly, and I had to go on, Wikipedia and other sources and try and remind myself. But he enjoyed it so much that I decided to try and do that some more. And so I've been listening to this podcast and then retelling him some slightly sanitized versions of the story as we go. And whenever we've got a break, and he says, "Dad, tell me about Rome." All right, about Rome.
That's great. That's totally great. So, and are there any other ones, or that's the main one?
No, I don't. I haven't really gotten into podcasts as much. I mean, except yours, obviously, which is, that's daily. That's a neat shower every morning.
Wow. Do you have brown eyes? I can't even see. No, you don't. Interesting. Have you ever had a nickname?
Jojo.
Jojo. Why'd they call you Jojo? You don't know?
Oh, look, I can see Ron Ellington is joined this podcast, and he is one of the group of people who calls me Jojo. Hi, Ron.
Oh, interesting. That's cool. What's your favorite music artist?
I don't know that I have a specific favorite. Well,
kind of like Pandora or Spotify or whatever.
What I've been listening to, the Pandora station I've been listening to the most recently is Scott Bradley. He takes mid-century blues and bebop and those types of songs, and he takes modern hits and recast them as if they were mid-century bebop and blues. It's a lot of fun, and there are. So it's kind of almost like electro swing, influenced, but reversed.
So when you're working, do you have like music on?
Don't.
Do you when you don't?
Nothing,
keep it silent?
Yeah, it's quiet. I lose myself in my thoughts.
All right. And do you have a favorite documentary or movie you've seen lately?
I honestly don't watch. I don't watch a lot of movies.
You don't. You're playing with the boy.
Right. Try to.
But the boy must be watching movies, no?
We try and limit screen time. We're
yeah.
I've been, I'm teaching him chess. We've been playing a lot of chess together.
Oh, that's great.
We play a lot of make believe.
So what's the best advice you've ever received?
Fail fast.
Who gave you that advice?
Everybody.
What's working for you right now? Do you have a new, something you're using that's an app or a vitamin or I guess you said your desk is working for you.
Yeah, the treadmill desk is working for me. No, I mean, in terms of workflow, I've got just a plain vanilla text editor where I keep my to-do list. And every morning I look at it. I do a little sort on things that I need to do, and start at the top and move down. And that's.
Do you at Pathable? Do you use Slack or one of those things there to get? And that's working pretty good. Yeah,
that's working. I mean, I love Slack. We were using a tool up until recently called Squiggle, that's similar to Slack, but it would take it would use your webcam to take a picture of you every minute. And post it. So you could see everyone you were working with. And it wasn't video, so you wouldn't see them picking their nose necessarily. But you could see if they were their brow was furrowed. You could see if they'd walked away. So one of the problems that I have with Slack is I'll ask somebody a question and they don't answer. Have they gone to lunch? Are they, they won't, it's hard to get a real sense of who's there and who isn't. I mean, it signs people out, sure, but if someone leaves it open, I don't have a sense of what they're doing or whether they're there. And so that sense of presence I found really useful.
And you don't use the Skype either then for work?
I use Skype
or do you? chatting it out.
Yeah, I mean, because we're an entirely virtual office. Everybody, we don't have a physical office. Everyone works from home. I got my co-founder and CTO is living in the Dominican Republic right now for 2 months, and then he's heading to Uruguay after that, and then he'll come back and be in Seattle. And I worked the 3 months when I was in Europe. So we really take advantage of the fact that we don't have to be physically together. But as a psychologist, I appreciate the importance of being able to see someone and make eye contact and all that in terms of building relationships. And so, we do a lot of video Skype. I use GoToMeeting and other tools like that to ensure not just that we're transferring information, but that we're building relationships, because I think that's important to a team.
That's really interesting, because I have the same problem. We use Slack and Skype, but it is like, where are you?
Yeah.
That's the whole thing when you need something.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very, very interesting. Okay. So, what's your favorite event to go to? First industry event, and then regular, like whatever event is it? Well,
so industry event, I mean, I'll be going to PCMA's Convening Leaders coming up in just a few.
Nice.
That's always a good one. It feels like a gathering of the clan. For everyone, a lot of familiar faces, yours included.
Mm-hmm.
And then for favorite event, I've been going to Burning Man for this will be for 15 years now. I guess I skipped 2, so I've done 13 years in all since I started.
Nice.
And it also feels like a gathering of the clan, but it's just such a good time, and meet interesting people, see interesting art. They come back inspired and exhausted, but it's well worth it.
Yeah, I have a podcast with somebody who's the head of the medical for Burning Man coming up.
Oh yeah,
I'm into it. Yeah, I'm blanking on his name.
Tell him or her I say hi. We've got, and it's nice actually. Burning Man has a global leadership conference where they bring together the leadership from their kind of worldwide network of local groups. And Pathable powers that event, which
cool.
It means a lot to be able to give back in that way.
That's very cool. Yeah, Charisse, who works with me here at Grass Shack, she goes every year. I always wanted to go. We almost went year before last, because I always wanted to go, but my wife got bronchitis really badly. And so we kind of pulled out at the end, which was too bad. I really wanted to go.
2016.
I've always wanted to go. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe so. What do you think's the coolest new trend, or what are you excited about coming up in the future here with, let's talk about the events. Where do you see, what do you think's cool out there? Do you have anything that's really like, well, wow, that's pretty cool?
For events and technology?
Just in general.
You mean?
It could be technology. It could be just, hey, people are friendlier.
It's a good world out there. So a friend of mine started a company recently called Glowforge. And Glowforge is taking laser cutters and making it more home accessible. So you can make cut physical objects in your home in the way that you might with your home printer.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, the demos are incredible. So, one thing you can do is you take a piece of wood or a cardboard, any physical thing, and you draw on it. You can put it into the device, and the device will scan it and then laser cut your drawing.
Wow.
So, but what that means is not only, or you can download, you take a picture with your camera and put in your laptop, and it will etch the photo that you took into the case of your laptop.
Holy crap!
And so you can, yeah.
So what kind of things that kind of thing where you can just personalize everything
You can personalize
that you
everything,
have?
right? So wallets. I mean, kind of all of Etsy will shortly be revolutionized by this thing. But in terms of making things too, I mean, you can take a blueprint for something, that can start two-dimensional. At least has pieces that are two-dimensional and that can be reassembled, and you can make them. I mean, you can make them out of any physical thing that you have. So I'm really excited about that. The beta has just come out. I'm waiting for my device still. But he crowdsourced the creation of it, so had people pre-buy it as a way to fund the first version. I think so, $25 million in product and crowdsourcing it.
Where did he do that? Like on Kickstarter or one of those things, or was
he built his own? I talked about that. So why didn't he use Kickstarter? And there were a few things that he wanted, like incentives. So if I recommended, if I referred other people who then bought it, I would get some kind of thank you. And I think Kickstarter didn't support that. And so,
that's interesting. Kind of a little affiliate-y kind of thing, huh?
Yeah.
Affiliate sort of thing. I was going to ask you one more question about Pathable. So what is the most popular thing about Pathable? Because I know it does a lot of things. So what's the most popular thing? What's the most? If someone's listening to right now, they say, what would they like the most?
Yeah. So I mean, if you think about, it's an event app, and so it does all the things that event app does. It puts your agenda online, it lets people choose their meetings, it lets exhibitors and sponsor listings and maps, and everybody does that. The thing that we do that really gets the most accolades is connecting people in real meaningful ways. And that, doesn't mean gamification and running around and getting points. It means creating opportunities for people to engage in real discussions with people who share their interests, and facilitating them connecting when they're at the event. So we make events more successful because we recognize that the reason that people go to events is to share the physical space and share relationships and build relationships with their fellow attendees.
Is there any, I know you have a lot of case studies on you have a really good website too. I like your website with all the webinars and everything. It's very cool.
Thank you.
Are there any shows coming up that you are going to be, that anyone would be able to try it out, or how does that work? I guess they get a demo from you right away if they go onto your site.
Yeah, and we have tests, demo sites where you can download the app and try it out, and you get an account at a mythical. We have a Green Energy Conference that doesn't actually exist, but it's the best event that doesn't exist in the world, and it has all the bells and whistles and lets you try things. Actually, something that we added recently that I'm excited about. So we added live polling. So speakers can go and create polls for the audience and, project the results. And I think it's fairly standard. One of the things that I've noticed is when there are panel discussions or they take questions from the audience at events, and you've got this huge audience and everybody, they put out a microphone in the aisles, and then people line up with the microphone and they step up and they ask their question. And it's always such a debacle because, someone will wait in line, and then they get up and their question is, I'd like you to comment on my research, and how does what you're talking about relate to this anecdote that I'm about to tell you about me? And you missed the good questions. So we built a questions from the audience tool into the app so people can suggest their questions. Everybody gets to see everyone else's questions. They can vote questions up. There's a moderator view where the moderator can then see all the questions that people are asking, see what the most popular ones are. So, 10 people have the same question. You don't have to have 10 people lined up with a microphone to ask it.
Right. That's a great idea.
Yeah. So I'm really excited about that one as well.
Now, is that projected? That comes on the moderator's phone, or everybody sees it, I guess? Everybody sees it. Sorry, I was trying to picture how it would be.
Everyone can see the questions so that they can vote them up or down.
Up or down, yeah.
Right. And then the moderator has a view where they can delete inappropriate questions. They can mark questions as answered so that they don't appear anymore. Some tools like that.
That's very cool. Very cool. All right, last question. Let's see. If you could talk to the high school senior you, what would you tell yourself?
Buy Facebook stocks. No,
That's exactly right. I think so.
Take more risks. I mean, I think I've done fairly well at not taking the obvious easy path and taking, starting my own company, going to creating art, things like that. But I think that there are certainly things that I wish I had spent more time on in my life that I haven't done because I was afraid that I would do them poorly or people wouldn't like the result. And the times when I've gotten over that, I've either been successful and patted myself on the back or failed fast. So
right.
Either way.
I was going to say that as you were saying that, I was thinking, oh yes, fail fast. Always comes back to failing fast.
Right.
All right, Jordan, where can people find you?
Pathable, P as in Paul, ATHABLE.com. And we're finding paths between people, pathable.com.
Right. And they can find you on Skype at?
I'm jojoschwa.
jojoschwa? You're not at Pathable anymore, huh? You have someone else being the Pathable person?
Right, yeah. On Twitter, we're Pathable on Twitter, Pathable.for-events on Facebook.
Nice.
The social media places.
Yeah.
And we're on Google. You can find us.
You're on the Google. Wow, how'd you get on there?
I knew somebody.
Did you have to fill out some sort of form? I don't know about that. All right, Jordan, thanks so much. I really appreciate your time. And I will talk to you again. I guess I'll see you soon.
Max, always a pleasure.
Okay. Bye-bye. Okay, it's always great to talk to Jordan. He is an awesome dude, and if you get a chance to talk with him at upcoming shows or through actually the Pathable website, make sure you do. He's really knowledgeable about where events in technology are going. I want to thank IMEX America for sponsoring the show once again, and of course AV for Planners. Check out AV for Planners if you're interested in getting the right equipment and labor for your show, and if you're a third-party planner or a third-party planning company or independent planner, check it out. It's a great new source of revenue for you. So we will see you next time, and I really appreciate you listening to the show.
We appreciate and thank you for listening to the Meetings Podcast. Please email with any questions or comments to meetingspodcast@gmail.com. Meetings Podcast is sponsored by IMEX America, America's worldwide exhibition for incentive travel, meetings, and events. The Meetings Podcast theme music is brought to you by the Delgado Brothers, which can be found at delgadobrothers.com.